Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. Our webinar will begin in just a few minutes. While you're waiting, please feel free to review our program information at csudh.edu/CEIE/global-logistics. In the meantime, we'll take a look at what some recent students have shared about the experience in the program. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Keith Otterberg, and I'm the Director of Marketing for the College of Extended and International Education at California State University, Dominguez Hills. Welcome. I'll be your host for this presentation. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on our website and social media platforms shortly after today's session. Feel free to download the Global Logistics Certificate Information Kit at bit.ly/CSUDH-GLX-info kit. In the kit will be program information and additional resources about the webinar. We provided a link in the chat panel for those who are participating live via Zoom, and it will also be available in a follow-up email to attendees. Before we jump in, I'd like to review the Zoom controls. This session is being presented in a webinar format, so you won't need to worry about connecting your microphone or camera. However, we want your participation. Help us to meet your needs. Use the Q&A button at the bottom of your screen if you are joining us from the Zoom desktop app or web browser, or in the top right of your screen if you're on a mobile device. Once you click the Q&A button, a dialog box will open, allowing you to type in your question. Please ask your questions in the Q&A panel rather than in the chat panel. In the chat panel, we will be providing helpful links and other information about the program. Our marketing staff members, Stephanie Buyukian and Anissa Barton-Thompson, will be standing by to assist you. We'll be answering your questions at the end of the session. However, you may find that your question has been answered during the course of the presentation. With that said, let's take a look at today's agenda. We'll begin by meeting our Global Logistics Certificate instructor, who will discuss the current industry outlook and introduce you to the program with an overview of the benefits, expectations, and course details. We'll then go over registration and login information and address your questions in our Q&A session. And now to lead off our session, I'll turn this over to Duane Murphy. Take it away, Duane.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Duane Murphy, and I'm going to be your global logistics instructor for the course. I have 30 years plus of global logistics experience in international global sales, operations, and customs compliance. I have a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration from Long Beach State University. I have a Master's in Management from the University of Redlands in Redlands, California. Currently, I'm an import cargo management for DB Schenker, an international freight forwarder. I want you to consider me your job trainer during the duration of this program. And I'm going to be able to connect all of your business processes and show you, and we will learn together how they are driven by global logistics. The world evolves as the economy changes. The founder of Intel Microchips said, we're going to have space stations because we're going to need to perform high-tech manufacturing 230 miles up in zero gravity. This is going to have a major impact on our logistics supply chains, our transportation networks, and it's also going to have an impact on not only us, but future generations. We will have grandchildren and great-grandchildren operating in these space factories. But back here on Earth, we have logistics challenges that we have to face today. Delayed Christmas gifts, the bosses doing better than the workers, global supply chain crisis that could last another few years, out of stock items, too much inventory, too little inventory, supply chains returning to normal despite a weaker economy that's being predicted. These last few years have been challenging. This course will help you learn the basics and fundamental of global logistics. But more importantly, I am going to provide you the job training so you can be part of these solutions. Employment of logistics opportunities is projected to grow 30% between now and 2030, much faster than the average for all other occupations. This according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So let's ask ourselves, and it's probably one of the central reasons why you're here today. Why pursue a career in logistics? Well, job growth. If you're interested in technology, computer technology, artificial intelligence, drones, any sort of technology, there are many future opportunities. If you want to improve yourself, learn more about global logistics, importing and exporting, global transportation networks, if you want to enhance your career, gain more knowledge, again, I'm here to give you that job training that in many cases, employers are not providing anymore. So who should attend? I have a philosophy that all business processes touch global logistics, certainly shipping, receiving, but also sales. Are we selling globally? Accounting, finance, all of the business processes in organizations is touched by logistics. So the short answer is everybody should attend. This course is going to provide real-world, practical information and concepts of global logistics that you're going to be able to use day one. If you're currently in the logistics business, I'm going to give you information that you can take directly to your employer, and you can show him that you've been trained. If you're seeking or exploring opportunities in logistics, I'm going to give you not only the tools and a good baseline of knowledge, but I'm going to help you learn the language. Every industry has its own language. You're going to be able to speak the language. This is key when you're interviewing, presenting yourself for employment. So let's talk about a few key components of global logistics that we will be discussing throughout the course. Globalization, let's start with the global industrial cycle. We're going to be discussing how manufacturing of goods move internationally, importing and exporting, and their related networks. Outsourcing. Why are goods made in the countries that they're made in? Why are we the world's largest importer from countries like China, Taiwan, which have been in the news recently? Trade agreements. Very effective tools for global trade. We will review the trade agreements and we will learn together how they impact global logistics and how we can take advantage of these trade agreements. If you are an entrepreneur, you want to start your own business, I can help you expand your markets internationally from the beginning. You can get the ground running and be an international buyer or seller almost immediately. We'll also dive into the global logistics model, the distribution models. How do goods get from the manufacturer to the shelf and or to your door, which is the final mile? We're also going to be looking into import-export networks and processes. The import-exporting portion of this program, we will give you the tools and the training to be able to import and export, start an import-export business, learn and be able to understand the paperwork that's involved, the shipping documentation, the customs clearance documentation. We'll be exploring all modes of transportation, internationally and domestic. We'll also be taking a look at the legal aspect of global logistics, risk and liabilities, and not just claims and damages, but how these transportation networks and how our suppliers and vendors, how they impact the risk that will face your organization. Or if you're starting your own business, how the global supply chain processes, what risk lies in these processes. We'll also be reviewing pricing structures. Each mode of transportation has their own pricing structure and how they determine their profitability. There is a revolution going on right now in the domestic transportation industry and its related networks. And it's the domestic final mile, which has been in a major upheaval due to our thirst for online deliveries, the rise of Amazon, combined with people forcing to buy things over the internet more and more due to COVID and other social factors. We will talk about this in depth because this has a major impact, not only if we're going to be in the e-commerce space, but as consumers as well. Regulatory compliance. The global industrial, the global logistics transportation networks and global logistics in general are regulated by federal governments around the world. So I will provide you the training on how to navigate these challenges. So for example, the largest one is customs brokerage. We're importing, we're exporting. We need to navigate the customs brokerage processes, not just coming into the United States, but exporting your products around the world. Each country has similar processes, but each country has their own variations. We have to I can help you understand these differences. And we will review and help you understand the documentation requirements. Because international shipments, international transportation requires a fair amount of paperwork. It is currently transitioning into paperless transactions, and the paperwork, if you will, being stored on the cloud. So it is moving toward a paperless process, and we're going to be going over that. And I will provide you with enough information and enough job training so you'll be able to walk into an employer and not only speak the language of this documentation, but you will understand what the document means, how it applies, when it is applied, how it's used, and most importantly, its importance. Employers want to know that from you. Employers want people who understand the processes, not just know bits and pieces of it. I can help you. My training will connect the dots for you. Global security. Due to the events on 9/11, global security is now at a very high level. It requires extra documentation and additional processes. I can help you with that. Taxation. Taxation drives behavior. Taxation influences behaviors of organizations, corporations, importers and exporters, entrepreneurs. So therefore, it influences the related transportation and global logistics networks and processes. So we all have to be aware of that. Tariffs and duties. These are assessed on products being imported and exported all over the world. This has a major impact on who and what we sell to each other. And it has an impact on our trade agreements. So the impact on the supply chain, the manufacturing location, who your vendors will be, and the transportation modes that they will use is all heavily influenced by these regulatory compliance processes. Other government regulation. Our industry is regulated for safety as well as compliance. So we have the Department of Transportation, the Federal Maritime Commission, the FAA for air freight, and other regulatory bodies. We're going to be taking an in-depth look on how these government agencies regulate our industry, because everyone needs training on the regulatory aspect, because the regulatory aspect is more than just filling out forms and paying licensing fees. So I will help bridge the gap between knowing what these regulations are and how to operate within this regulatory environment safely and avoid risk, such as fines, accidents, damage, a cargo, that kind of thing. Because regulation is part of that business risk I talked about earlier. So it's another piece of the pie, if you will. And I can help you put all these pieces together. And when we can do that, then you have more than just an elementary understanding. you understand not only the processes, but the environments and the influences that make these processes work properly. The industry is also, we'll also discuss how it's heavily regulated for the trucking industry as well as globally. Technology. The global logistics industry is one of the most high-tech industries on earth. And I'm not just talking about tracking and tracing and tracking your UPS package on your phone. That's very important and it's very high-tech. But there's a lot of exciting things going on right now in the area of technology in global logistics, especially warehouse and distribution and e-commerce. Artificial intelligence, drones, advanced computing, robotics, predictive analysis, all these different things. For example, shipping companies are using predictive analysis software to predict when bad weather is going to happen, so they can reroute their ships, secure their containers at their ports, among a whole host of other processes that they can secure for safety and loss mitigation. Equipment. When we think of high technology, we don't think of the forklifts. We don't think of the airplanes. Well, the airplanes we fly in today are vast improvement and are a lot different than what our parents and grandparents flew on. So the equipment is changing. It can haul more air freight. Our planes can fly farther distances. They're made with exotic carbon fiber materials. There's a lot of technology going into aviation right now. And there's an awful lot of technology going to the new cargo ships. They're burning biofuels now. The navigation, GPS, it's all taking another leap forward to make these supply chain and these transportation networks more efficient. So a couple other things in the computer area, we have the global transportation industry is a major user of blockchain technology. Companies like Maersk, UPS, FedEx are on the forefront of blockchain technology. UPS and FedEx are some of the first companies to use it. So very exciting technology. The certificate courses are Introduction to Logistics, where we begin our discussion about global logistics. We'll talk about the global industrial cycle. And this is the class where we look at the 30,000-foot view. We look at the forest through the trees, and we take a look at concepts and also how did we get here? Why is the parking lot full of Japanese cars when I was a kid, it was full of American cars? Why is it all of our electronics, most of them are made in Asia? Why is it that we import products, some products, and we build products here? So we'll go all into that in this class and we'll tie it together. Importing and exporting. I will provide the job training so you understand the import-export process for your organizations that are involved in it. I will also provide you with the training if you want to become an importer or exporter. If you want to be an entrepreneur, if you have an idea, I can help you. We go over the marketing of products internationally. We go over the pitfalls, what to look out for, the risk, and certainly the rewards. GLX 902 is a further discussion of global logistics, where we discuss customs clearance processes and global regulatory compliance and modes of transportations, and we get more in depth into the global distribution models and transportation networks. Transportation management and physical distribution. This is a deep dive into our domestic trucking industry, warehouse and distribution, and the final mile process, which is a lot more complicated than it used to be, and how the final mile is causing disruption in our e-commerce deliveries, and how the small package industry, UPS, FedEx, Amazon, and other companies are revolutionizing how they do business, which will then make major changes on how we receive our packages. Financial instruments. The global supply chain, global transportation does not occur without financing, right? Without a buyer and a seller, there is no global logistics, right? So buyers and sellers sometimes need financing. We're going to talk about that, how you can, if you're starting a business, how you can obtain financing. And also the methods of payments. We're going to go over letter of credits and other forms of payments, because that is one of the biggest risks, probably the biggest risk in global logistics, is the transportation, if you will, of the dollars. The money changing hands between buyer and seller and the transactions. There's an awful lot of risk there. We will give you the tools. We will train you on how to avoid this risk, or at the very least, minimize it as much as you can. The last class, GLX 905, is hazardous materials. This class, we go over the basics on how to identify hazardous materials, how to handle the related paperwork, how to handle them safely, also how to prepare to your facilities to prevent accidents, how to what the processes are if there is an accident, and more importantly, how to comply with the regulatory requirements of transporting, storing, and even selling hazardous materials. It's highly regulated for obvious reasons, and I can provide the training to give you a very good foundation. That way, if your organization or you're looking for employment and they do deal in hazardous materials, you're going to understand the paperwork. You're going to understand how to read the regulatory manuals that are printed by government agencies, and you will understand how to transport them safely. The book is called Global Logistics. I'm sorry. The book is Transportation, A Global Supply Chain Perspective by Cole Novak Gibson. It's the 8th edition. You can see the ISBN code on your screen. This book is also available new or used. And of course, it's available on Amazon. And in this modern age of e-commerce, you can rent the book online, I believe. So many options here to make it as cost efficient as possible. Why take this Global Logistics Certificate course? What are the features and benefits? What's in it for you? I focus on job training. I see this class as training the next generation of logistics people, people who are going to take logistics to the next level. So my training encompasses, number one, a basic understanding of how global logistics works, an understanding of our transportation networks, an understanding of how to manage and minimize risk. Because your employers want to hire employees. They want to have workers who not only understand the paperwork and the documentation and the language, which we are going to do all that for you, but also be able to take your employer to the next level. I can provide you and train you on the information where you'll be able to go to your employers, or if you're working for yourself, and tell your employer and understand how these processes work and provide them with solutions to avoid risk and therefore grow their business. Employers want to be able to grow their businesses. How do they do that? With good employees, knowledgeable employees, employees with ideas, employees that can solve problems, reduce risk. That's how organizations grow. And I can help you become a part of that for an organization.
Thank you, Duane, for that great overview of the program and for the state of logistics currently. We're going to get back to you in just a minute for our Q&A segment. And so to that end, if you have any questions, now's the time to put them in the Q&A panel so that we can answer them live. First, let's take a look at our course registration and delivery details. The logistics courses are taught on Saturdays in a live online format. The complete schedule will be in the information packet that you can download from the chat and will also be available after the webinar and is also available on our website. The courses can be completed in as little as 4 months, and they're offered twice a year during the spring and fall. The courses can be taken in any order, but we recommend that you take them in the order that they're presented in order to get the maximum benefit out of the program. We use Zoom web conferencing to conduct the classes and our campus learning, as well as our campus learning management system. To enroll, call our registration office at 310-243-3741, option 1. You can also use an 800 number, 877-GO-HILLS, option 1. The enrollment office is open from Monday through Thursday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., Friday 9 to 5, and Saturday 8 to 1:30. These are all Pacific times. If you have recently taken a course at Dominguez Hills, you can register using your my.csudh.edu account. There's no prerequisites for this program and no admission process. You just enroll in your first course. We highly recommend that you register early to make sure that there's space in the course that you want and to allow enough time for course information and online access information to be created and sent to you. Payment is due at the time of registration. You can register for one course at a time or for all the courses at once. It's up to you. This program is also available for funding through the Federal Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, which provides funding for qualified students who are unemployed or seeking career training. If you think you might qualify for that program, email our specialist at wioa@csudh.edu or visit our website for more information. If you need other kinds of financial assistance, you can Google private student loan provider or look up salliemay.com for information. Again, we recommend that you register at least 1 week before the course begins, and so that you can check your Toro mail and personal emails for special instructions and campus notifications. You'll want to be sure to test your account access to the learning management system and get comfortable with the layout in the class, such as where to find announcements, Zoom meeting schedules, discussions, and so forth. Now we'll get ready for our questions. Duane, again, we'll be talking to you. Please use the Q&A button to ask your questions. And let's start off with a straightforward one. If somebody's just getting started in this industry, they don't have any experience, how do they get a foot in the door?
Well, I believe this certificate program is a perfect way to get a foot in the door, because I'm going to prepare you and train you on how to interview. I'm going to give you the knowledge, the basic knowledge. So you, number one, you'll understand exactly what your employer is looking for before you walk in the door. Number two, you'll be able to speak the language. And speaking the language is very important in an interview, as we all know. And number three, this class takes a very in-depth look into everything I've just talked about. So you're gonna know what you're getting into. When you see jobs, when you apply for jobs and go on interviews, you're gonna have a leg up. It's like getting into an automobile, not knowing how to drive versus knowing how to drive.
Great. We have a couple of questions that have come in related to trucking specifically.
Mm-hmm.
The first question is, I'm looking to be a semi-truck broker. Would this program help me?
Yes, in the course where we go over the distribution and transportation to distribution course, we go over licensing, DOT licensing, the requirements, the regulatory regulatory compliance requirements for being a trucker and a truck broker. And
okay.
One quick thing I'd like to add to that is, I've had truckers in my class that didn't consider themselves international, part of the international transportation community. You're in a very important part, even if you're not picking up containers to and from the port. When you're hauling in and out of distribution centers, if you're hauling product in bond that hasn't cleared customs yet, truckers are probably, you could argue, the most important part of the global logistics shipping networks. So we do go over truck brokerage and DOT regulations and all that good stuff. And one thing I wanted to say is that as you ask your questions, if there's something that you didn't hear today, or if there's something that you may not think we go over, we'll go over it. And on the first day of class, I'm going to ask people, whatever you want to go over, I will make time. I will do the research. We will get you the training.
Terrific. That's good to know. So we can really tailor the program to students' needs.
Exactly. Thank you.
The other question regarding trucking, an anonymous attendee says, I'm a trucking company owner and we haul domestic intermodal freight. Is there a section in the course that's particularly applicable or useful for the enhancement of my business?
I think so. Certainly, when we go in depth in warehouse and distribution here in the United States, and as the final mile changes, as our global supply chains and distribution models get clogged up, that has a huge impact on the intermodal landscape here in the United States. And again, as we start the course together and all of us take this journey together, if there's something specific that you want to learn and get some training on, we will tailor it for you. So, this program isn't just, it's not cookie cutter. Here's what a commercial invoice is. Fine, check it off. We just don't check box here. Okay. So now that I know today that there's somebody hopefully be joining our course that is in the intermodal trucking business, then I can already, get the wheels turning. I already try to anticipate what you need and get you the right training. Does that answer the question? Intermodal means a lot of different things. So, but again, we can narrow that down and we'll get you the information and the training you need.
Okay.
Very confident we can do that.
Okay. Couple of questions from Olga. How much in depth will you go into with ocean and air exporting? And also, do you go over AES filing?
Well, that's a two-part question. So first part, we go in depth in international importing and exporting in the import-export class and in subsequent classes. Now, keep in mind, another thing I want to say right here is that when we go over a subject, let's say when we go over international ocean freight, we just don't talk about it in 1 or 2 sessions and then we're done. So my course is set up where we learn as we go, and things we've learned in the past, we use and continue building on that in the future. Okay. So the international ocean freight, international air freight, exporting, importing, these are themes that we're going to be discussing and providing, the training on throughout the course. And the second part of your question, I'm sorry, I forgot.
Do you go over AES filing?
We don't go over the filing. We don't sit you in front of the AES screen and go over the filing, but we go over what it is, what it's used for. And if you need some specific training on the AES filing for exports that's done in the ACE system, then we can try and set something up where we can take a look at that. I've used the ACE system before for AES filing, and it's very simple. If you haven't done it yet, I wouldn't worry about it. But I think more importantly, we're going to review when AES is needed, how you do it, what its importance is, and why we're doing it. So, and if you want to look at screenshots on how people do it, believe me, we can, if you want to see how it's visually done, if you want to see some samples, we can do that as well. Whatever you need, we will do our very best to accommodate you.
Great. Okay. A question that's on people's mind who are in a lot of industries today: are there work at home opportunities available in global logistics?
Yes, there are. Yes. Logistics coordinator positions, some management positions. Yes, I see quite a few remote positions, and hybrid positions. So, but I will say this, many of the jobs are going to be on site, depending on what you're doing. If you're in sales, that's probably be remote. If you want to get a coordinator position or a customs broker support position, or become a customs broker, whatever the case may be, those jobs tend to lend themselves more toward a remote environment.
Okay, great. And the same person is also asking about work placement. I know we don't do work placement, but through the program, what opportunities might open up for them in terms of networking and that sort of thing?
Well, I can certainly, and I offer this to all my students every semester. I'd be happy to help look at anybody's resume, give them my opinions. There are websites we can talk about. Certainly the big ones, Indeed and Career Builder, LinkedIn. There's a website called Jobs and Logistics. But I think the most important thing is get the training, get the foundation of the knowledge, speak the language, put the language on your resume, because you want to attract people, right? You want people to see your resume and say, we need this person to come in. So that's what I focus on. But again, I'm familiar with, many of the employers in the area. I've helped students on interviewing, what questions to ask, how to answer certain questions. I had a student last semester, they gave me a job description. I gave them some pointers. And a few years ago, I gave someone some pointers on the small package industry, which I'm very familiar with. And they were able to get a job at FedEx in their customs brokers department. So I can help prepare you and prepare your resume for the interview process.
Terrific. Okay. And I want to point out that we also have social media sites dealing with global logistics and supply chain industries that you can use to help network yourself and make connections that might help to land you a job. Another person asked, do you go over logistics, business staffing, and growth strategies or things of that nature?
We can. That's the first time I've heard about staffing. We can certainly talk about staffing. Labor is certainly a very important part about it. A part of it. We do talk about staffing a little bit. But yeah, I can certainly help people understand what the warehouse and distribution people are looking for, what the trucking industry is looking for, what the global freight forwarders and the carriers are looking for. So in that regard, I can certainly help you with staffing. So, and another good thing is once you're done with this course and you have the knowledge and the training, then you'll know what to expect from others. Hey, I learned A, B, C, and D. This is what I want out of my staff. So as I give you the training, then you can pass it on to your employees or, you know, whatever the case may be. So it's kind of like train the trainers. So I'll be training you, and then you can use what we learn to put together a program. Hey, I had a student take my coursework that she took notes and everything. She took the course information and she created job descriptions when she went looking for staff. So we can get creative. And as you asked me the question, we can certainly come up with something there. Okay,
great. So along those lines, we know that this program will help people get a foot in the door in the industry. But what about somebody who's got some experience but no formal training in the industry? Would this program help them move up to more of a managerial or supervisory position?
I think so, absolutely. And I've had past students that have done exactly that. My philosophy is, and this includes myself, I'm always learning. You can't know everything all the time. So if you have some experience in the logistics business, great. But I can help build on that. I can give you more information. I can help you connect even more dots because, I may have a lot of experience in final mile or global forwarding, but I may not have as much in trucking. Well, we can put that together. So for those of you who have experience, but you want to learn more, I do that all the time. In fact, I would say the majority of my students are already in the industry. So I'm able to just add to their training, build on top of it, right? And the industry is ever changing. So things that you might be working with, I had a student a couple years ago, and she was in customs brokerage, which is great. I really enjoy brokerage, but she didn't know what was going on with the trucking industry. She didn't know some of these other things we talk about. And she was able to say, oh, okay, that is related to what I do. Duane's talking about global air freight. I get it. Now I understand how that impacts my business. When he's talking about networks affect how fast I can clear goods coming in the United States. So when she had backlogs, she goes, oh, Duane, now I know where they come from. Now I understand, because nothing operates in a vacuum in global logistics. If we're backed up in China, you're backed up in Long Beach. If we're backed up in Long Beach, the customs brokers are backed up. The mid-mile, the truckers, the final mile, everybody has an issue. And so, I think logistics is unique because we all deal in our sections of it, right? But when you see the big picture, and we can help you do that, I think it helps everybody in their individual worlds. And you can't say that about a lot, in my opinion, you can't say that about every industry. But this is one industry where, hey, Duane, I'm in trucking. What do I need to learn about customs brokers, right? Do I really need that? I can make that connection. I can tie why customs brokerage impacts domestic mid-mile and final mile trucking here in the United States.
So along those lines, you said that most of the people are already in the industry. Is this program geared more towards U.S. residents, or can it also apply to people who are in other countries?
This is a global class course. I've had students from all over the world and people, new immigrants, first, second generation immigrants. We're going to be talking about how to import and export and do business in a lot of different countries. We can pick a country. In some classes, we've picked a country. So if you're interested in a particular country, we'll explore it. We'll talk about it. This class is not US centric. Well, let me say this. It's US centric when we talk about importing into the United States, right? So when we talk about US customs clearance, that's US centric. And when we talk about US trucking, but we also talk about trucking in Mexico, Canada. I do have some knowledge of what's going on in the trucking industry in Europe, a little bit about what's going on in China, which was a lot of it was pre-COVID. So I probably have some work to do. So, yes, I teach from the global perspective. So, we talk about a lot of different countries that do a lot of different things. And if you have a specific country in mind, then we'll talk about it. I think it was last year or a couple of years ago, I had a student, they were a couple, and they wanted to import, export wine from Honduras. So we talked about it. Similar processes apply. Honduras has very similar laws, import laws as the United States. They also have some that are different when it pertaining to alcohol and wine. So it's because of my training I've had and my experiences, it's easy for me to plug and play different countries to make it global. So we can do that for you.
So this program is global, but it's also customizable depending on your experiences you're bringing in and what you want to learn. That's good to know. A very specific question. Do you review AMS and CargoWise? I'm assuming that those are different software.
I do not typically. And for the reason that the AMS filing are done by carriers, right? So the students that I have, most of them do not work for carriers. So I explained the AMS process. No, but if CargoWise is something we want to look at, we can find out exactly what you need to know about it, and we will do our best. But specifically, we do not go over proprietary software.
Okay. Probably a last question. This is a global logistics program, but it is not a supply chain management program. So can you kind of distinguish those two fields and what you do and what you don't cover?
Sure. So I think the key difference between transportation, which we emphasize, and the supply chain management process is that in supply chain dives into procurement, material handling, and purchasing. Those are three areas that we don't spend any time on procurement or material, a little on material handling just from a transportation standpoint. And we do not dive into purchasing. So those are the three subject matters that, in my opinion, distinguish supply chain management from transportation management. Transportation management process. Yeah.
Couple of logistical questions in terms of the classes themselves. Is there homework or an assigned class project?
We do everything in class.
Okay. And what happens if someone has a schedule conflict on the day of class?
Okay. And again, that depends on the class. So if it's a one-day class, if you miss it, you will have to take it the next semester, obviously. If I strongly encourage everyone to attend the classes, obviously, because we do everything in class. That's where the training and the knowledge transfer happens, obviously. So if something comes up, I understand we all have, things going on in families. So if something comes up, please let me know ahead of time. And then if you're going to miss a class, then I will assign you a little assignment or a little project to do some research on your own, so you can gain the information that you missed that day. But the good thing is that if you do miss some information, whether, your computer broke or you got called away into the next room or whatever, your child or dog was screaming. And if you miss something, there's a good chance that we're going to touch on it again. So, but I strongly encourage, please attend every class. And even if you have something going on and you only can attend for the first couple hours, that's fine. And then I can give you some instructions on what you'll be missing and put something together for me there.
Terrific. Anything else you want to say about the program, Duane? We're all out of questions.
Well, first and foremost, I want to thank everybody for joining the call. And I think that this is a great investment. And it's not just me. The beauty of this program is that we learn from everybody. I learn, we're all going to take away something from everybody else. So not only are you getting my experiences and training and information from me, we'll be sharing in class and you'll be getting it from other people. So this is a hands-on job training program, because we were talking before with Keith, companies aren't training anymore. They do training, but not like they used to. Because when I was, a younger guy, they used to train us tremendously. Well, training is expensive, so companies are cutting back. So they're looking for people who are already up and running to a certain degree. Now, they are going to train you to a certain point, but they may not want to spend the time to train you on what we can give you here. So this is a good stepping stone. It's a springboard platform to get you into the industry if you're not there. If you're already in the industry, knowledge is always a good thing. And I'm very confident that I can help you expand your knowledge base for those of you in the industry, because you may want to go to another sector. Duane, I'm in ocean air freight. I'm in ocean import. I want to go to export air freight. I can help you make that transition. So, and you have a certificate, and it's something to put on your resume. You have a global certificate program that from a major university that you can put on your resume.
Terrific. And we'll end it there. Thank you very much, Duane.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming.
So if any questions come up afterwards, you can reach us via email at learn@csudh.edu or on the phone at 310-243-2075. When you're ready to register, take the next step. You can call our registration office at 310-243-3741, option 1, or 877-GO-HILLS, option 1. And if you've taken a course recently at CSUDH, you can enroll via My CSUDH. In fact, the registration office is open until 1:30 p.m. Pacific time today. So I want to thank you everyone for participating, and we'd love to get your feedback on today's session. The feedback session is at bit.ly/CSUDH-webinar-feedback. Again, feel free to connect with us on our website, on Facebook or LinkedIn. And please remember to register early to get your spot in your preferred classes. We'll stay in the session for a few more minutes to give everyone a chance to jot down last minute notes, download the information kit. And when you're ready to leave, please click on the red leave button in the corner of your screen. Once again, thank you. Stay safe, and we look forward to seeing you in class. Bye now.